Hello, I'm Erin from the Witch of Saturn here with Jay from Iridescent Tarot and our special guest Julie, Peekaboo Rose. And
Yay!
we are here for our next episode of Deck Connectors Club. Today we'll be doing this Three of Moms Tarot episode. And this week we were working with Ethereal Visions. Jay, do you want to give a little background on what Deck Connectors Club is, if some people might not be familiar with it?
Absolutely. Let's rewind it back even more. Two of Moms Tarot is the little podcast style thing that Erin and I do on a weekly basis. And occasionally, we've been having special guests on. So this week we have Julie. And when we do our hashtag Deck Connectors Club, what we're doing is basically working with one deck per week. When we work with it for a week, it's really just 5 days because we needed a little bit of flexibility. So we have 5 prompts per week. Day one, we work with an interview spread that we've standardized, but people are welcome to join in with whatever spread they want. Day two, we pull a spread from the library of questions. Days 3 and 4, we work with different oracle decks, pair them up, see how it goes. And then day 5, we work with bibliomancy or anything that's kind of meditative. So we pull an entry and we work that into our spread somehow. And this is all with the goal of connecting more with our decks that we have in our collection.
So I don't know, let's get into it. Let's talk about ethereal visions.
Julie, give us your overview.
So when I first bought this deck years ago, I thought it was beautiful. I was looking for specifically an Art Nouveau deck.
Mm,
And I know of the ones out there, and this is the one that ticked most of the boxes for me, specifically the Luna edition with
yes.
that more purple colorway. Yes, yes. And I have the mass market version. And so when I got it, I thought it was lovely. I worked with it just fine because it's very, RWS leaning. It's pretty much a clone.
Yes, it really is.
Yeah, and since then I have done readings here and there for both myself and other people, and once again, straight shooter, and also found that I was picking up the deck less and less. So
Uh-huh.
doing deck connectors was uh, exciting for me to choose this deck for it because I'm like, oh great, this is a way for me to reconnect. I have to say, this my week with Ethereal Visions this time around was kind of mid. I was just like, this is beautiful. Like, this is still beautiful. And like, I see
Yes.
it on my reading table and I'm like, damn, this is so beautiful. But like,
Yep.
when I'm doing my readings, I'm just like, meh, okay.
Me too.
You
Me
know?
too. Yes.
So yeah, that's been my experience. And it's not to say that my readings were off the mark, really. I mean, they were pretty spot on overall. But it just wasn't that kind of like fizzy feeling that I would get, when I did deck connectors with, say, Gentle Tarot or Practice.
Mm,
I wanted to, I actually extended the deck connectors to week 2 with both those decks. Be-
awesome.
But with this one, I'm just like, and I'm good. Day 5 done. Okay,
Yeah.
we are done.
Yeah.
So,
Wait,
Like you checked it off your list and you're like, I could do without this.
yeah, well, I waver because it's just so pretty. So, and it's not like I'm hurting for room or anything. I have the real estate for it. So it could be one of those decks that just sticks around and I might, come back and think it over. And if I truly am not picking it up at all, then maybe it'll be time to move it on. So, what about you two?
Yeah. Yeah. I had the exact same feelings as you did. My journey with this deck, I had the Luna edition in mass market, and that was years ago. I used it, like you said, right away. And then slowly but surely, it just kind of like sat on the shelf. And I was like, well, maybe it's because I'm too much of a cardstock snob and I need the indie edition.
Yeah, the cards.
Right. So then I bought the indie edition of the Luna and I was like, nope, it's not that. Like, actually found that the indie edition cardstock was like just on par. And the backs were like a shade of blue that was uglier than the mass market. It was just like a little bit, I don't know. It was like just an ugly blue. And
hold on, I'm pulling it out because that's the one that I have.
Erin's like, hold on a sec.
It's a very similar.
Interesting. I was gonna say it looks comparable.
When I held them side by side, I was like, the indie looked cheaper to me.
Oh, interesting. Because
Really?
you're indie, right, Erin?
I
That's
can be I can be super, super picky, like
Um,
over the top. Yeah. So and
understand.
I love gilding. And I'm like, why have all this beautiful, like
Yeah, well, that's what
shiny
this has going for
detailing,
it.
well, we do have the holographic foil on the images, but mine
but
does
not the edging?
no.
Yeah, mine has it on the edging too.
I mean, I'm okay with that personally, but yeah.
Do
And
you
I
think
like this card stock.
do you think that the edges on the mass market are kind of bitey? Like even though they
Oh
don't
yeah,
have, yeah.
absolutely. I hate this cardstock essentially. And
Okay.
even and especially to shuffle, like I just couldn't get my hands around them.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any standard card size next to me, but if you guys do, are these standard? Because they felt large.
They're larger. Well, and actually what I did is, so this is,
Yeah, they're larger.
yeah, they're
Okay.
larger. And really, and what I did was because they were biting into my hand so much, I actually took a sliver off the top and a sliver off the bottom to see if it would stop
Nice.
cutting into my hands, and that
Oh,
didn't.
It's
you
almost like it needs
work.
to be banged into the pavement to soften up the edges.
I don't know. That was
You could
such a
beat it
waste
up.
of time. I was like,
Yeah, it's like, how much can you do to try to make it work before you're like, I have X amount of other decks. Like, why am I fighting with this?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, anyways, I had Mass Market and Indie Luna Edition. I rehomed both of those. I was like, well, maybe I just really want the gold. So I got this one, and it's not it. I fear to say this deck is just not for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
What about you, Erin?
well, I had a different experience with this because I have worked with this deck before and kind of felt like, oh, this is surprising me a little bit. I like it more than I thought I would because and I have the Luna Indie Edition, and then I also have the Mass Market Gold because they're so pretty. Like, that's really why I bought them. And because I do like that Art Nouveau or like Art Deco kind of vibe. So originally in working with this deck, I was like, oh, I do like it a little bit more than I thought. And then for deck connectors, my first day really working with it, because I reused my interview. I didn't do my interview again that I had done in the past. I just kind of like bumped that back in. And then the first day, I was like, what does this even mean? I pulled this spread note. I just wasn't feeling it. I didn't think that it was really, I was like, is this a puddle? This deck is a puddle, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's just
Yep.
not that deep. And the more I sat with it, the more it did kind of make sense. I kind of think with that, and this is an ongoing theme I've been having the past few weeks, is that I'm not really connecting with spreads. I'll use a spread and pull cards and I'm kind of like, wait, what? Like it's not lining up. And then if I take the spread away and just read the cards, I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. So I don't know what's going on with that with me right now, but this was kind of one of those situations. But then it was when I started using this deck with oracles that I had two in particular, like really, really super deep readings with this that were kind of like big breakthroughs for me.
Nice.
And I started thinking about the deck in a different way. I don't know if, like I shared this with my friend Jamie Sawyer, and she was like, "Oh yeah, that deck just needs to be like propped up and supported by like these other decks. Like maybe it's like works well with others deck. It does feel very Libra to me, this deck. So I think that that could be something that is just part of its personality for me." But it worked really, really well for me with that. And for those days, I first paired it with Threads of Fate, the Aurora edition, because shiny, pretty, pretty. Like I was like, these will look so pretty together. And I think that just this oracle in particular really gave the meat to the reading that I needed. And then the next day I used it with Work Your Light Oracle by Rebecca Campbell, which is illustrated by Danielle Noel. And then I also brought in the Star Child Tarot for that. And it was just, I mean, gorgeous, all of those cards together. And that was the reading that really like blew me away. Um, and so I started to think about like, okay, well, aside from this deck just being a very pretty face, which we know that it is, what else, and it essentially being an RWS clone, right? But there's something else about it that I couldn't put my finger on. And so I did this practice where I lay out the deck, I lay out all of the majors in order, and I like take a picture of that and I just sit with it and I take it in the whole story. I lay them out in the three lines of the majors.
And then she sends it to me because I'm too lazy to do this.
Yeah, I do. I'm like, here you go. And then I do the same thing with each of the suits to kind of take in the full story because it gives me some information about the deck that just working with individual cards doesn't. And when I did that, I was like, oh, this deck essentially is an RWS clone, except that it's very, very focused on the people. It is less about the scenery and it's more about the people. It seems like a deck that's very geared towards identities, maybe personalities, faces,
I can see that. Yeah.
right? And something about the structure of the deck, that Art Nouveau style, where it looks like little windows. So
Mhm.
I was like, am I looking into a window or am I looking at a mirror? Which is really kind of how it showed up for me because those intense readings that I had were really like a reflection on certain parts of my own identity, like which I guess you could call the shadow self, like facets of my personality or my identity that I'm not super comfortable with, that I don't like love about myself were not just illuminated, but I really got to the root of where they came from and how they have served as like a survival mechanism for myself. And it just shined a light on that in a way that ended up being very cathartic and healing. Like it just lined up with then, like, I did this big spread and it was like, whoa, it really opened something, it cracked something open in me. And then life happened as it will in like perfect alignment. And that really was like pushed me over the precipice. And I had this like big emotional experience, release, whatever you want to call it, that was very cleansing and healing. And just like, I will definitely, like, I won't pass this deck on simply because of the way that like the just that experience with those couple of readings. But I do think it's a deck that serves like a very specific purpose in that way and that it does need support from its friends. And that's why I was like, wow, this is really, as I was working with it, I was really regretting not putting it in my decks for Libra season because I just think it's such a Libra deck that way. Like it's pretty and aesthetic and also very much about like self and other personality relationships. I just think it's like a deck that focuses on interrelating, maybe, let's say, even if that's with yourself. So I really liked my experience with this deck, but I do think that there is a side of it that's a little more like shallow or petty, which is also very Libra. So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's Libra too. I'm not into astrology as much in the way that you are, but I know enough about Libras to know that this is it.
Yeah, it really is. It's a Libra season deck.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds like it was a beautiful experience, as like difficult as it might have been to go through something that like emotional. It sounds like it was a beautiful way to connect with your deck.
Oh, it really was. It was really perfect timing. It was funny. It was kind of like, oh, be careful what you wish for because I had been getting these themes through my readings and I was like, oh yeah, let's explore this. I was willing. I signed up and then I was like, why did I do that in the moment? Those experiences that you have. But in the end, I am really grateful for it. And it did keep giving me this theme. One of the stalker cards that I had was from this deck was Four of Cups. And the message that really came through about like what to do with this whole experience, like what I was being guided to kind of practically apply was meditation. I think that this just is a card that it reminds me so much of meditation.
Oh,
And
yes.
through that, I had like some even deeper experiences. So I don't know. It was like, here, you called me a puddle. I'm going to show you that I'm not. But
Mm. Yeah. I do think that the guidebook can be a little bit puddly.
yeah, the
Um,
guidebook's nothing to write home about.
yeah. They don't mention really what's going on in the pictures. They just kind of give these generic sentiments that leave you a little cold.
I do think it's a cold deck. I thought maybe this week I would work with both versions because I do have the gold mass market. And I thought that maybe the silver of the Luna would make the deck even colder because I did
It
get like
does.
cold vibe from it, but I don't know. I just really loved it. There was something about it that I just stuck with it the whole time. So it was interesting. It was an interesting experience for me.
That's interesting that now that you're talking about it in that frame, I feel like my experience was similar
Hmm.
in that when I worked with it, say, with the spread from the Library of Questions, it was an okay reading. But
Yeah.
for me, where it really shined was when I paired it with other decks, and
Yeah.
the readings were much more like spot on and
Mhm.
resonated much more for sure. So that's an interesting way to think about it, that this might be a deck that just works better with others.
Yeah, it works,
You
plays
know,
well with others,
plays
right?
well with others, and definitely more about the internal than the external, because that came up in my interview spread.
Oh, did
When,
it?
yes, when I just did a very truncated, like, 3 question, describe yourself, describe me, and describe our potential together. And
Nice.
yeah, and the deck described itself as I got the Hermit card. And the way I perceived that was like, just very reflective and more about the internal,
Yeah.
and the interpersonal rather than necessarily external. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah,
very like introspective.
introspective and reflective.
Yeah, and
Yes.
that's why I started thinking about it as like these mirrors or
Hmm.
windows or something, just even the shape, right? Like of it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the silver kind of coming out too, where I just felt like it was more like holding up a mirror and looking
Yeah.
at it, or like, and then through it into what, have you ever seen those like in a movie or a show and somebody looks into the mirror and it's themselves, but it's like another version of them who kind of like talks back? It kind of felt like that to
Mhm.
me. Like, what is this reflecting about myself that I'm not, aware of or seeing? But I don't know if you guys can see if I hold this up really close. Like, look how beautiful.
It is. That's the
Oh,
thing.
I
Like,
know. If this
oh.
deck was ugly, I don't think Julie and I would have given it a second chance. Like,
legit, it is just so gorgeous.
yeah, it's painful because it puts you in this position where it's like, okay, like, is it worth what kind of reading you might get
Yeah.
to get the beauty from it? Like, can you just appreciate that for what it is and maybe not, get those super deep readings? And you're lucky that you have the real estate to house decks that don't
Yes.
hit
Yeah.
all those points for you. For me, I'm trying to keep it all in one cabinet. And yeah,
Yeah.
I have one singular set, the Threads of Fate Lumen and the Tarot, the Weaver. These two come as a set for me. Like, these are my beautiful, I love them for their look decks, and I can't have more than one set of that. Like, you know,
Yeah.
they fill the
Well,
same spot in my collection. So,
no, totally get that. I mean, another aspect of the interview spread was when I asked about our potential together, it gave me Ace of Pentacles. And for me, the message was that we do have promising potential, but I actually have to put the work into it.
uh-huh.
And so maybe a week isn't enough. Maybe that's not enough time. And I have to actually, put more time to foster a relationship with it. But
You
and
want to do that.
I mean, it's pretty enough that I might.
Oh, good for you. All right.
It's
That's,
pre-
yeah,
it's
that's
just
promising.
So pretty. And like I said, when I did pair it up with other oracles and such, I mean, the readings were spot on. But it just, yeah, it does have that kind of cold sentimentality though to it. So I have to kind of, I guess, maybe reconcile that, or again, just foster a stronger bond over time, because like a week is not that much time for
No.
me personally. So it could just be like I might need yeah, might need to give it some more time.
Hmm. Hmm.
But because I don't think I don't plan to get rid of it right now. Like it's staying. I just don't know that it's like a long term, you know, long-term residency here.
Yeah. Yes, I understand.
So yeah, yeah.
So, speaking of like the cold nature of this deck, like that doesn't necessarily bother me so much because I have a Capricorn moon. And so I call like a Capricorn or Aquarius moon, I call the cold moon because they're ruled by Saturn. And so originally I was thinking that this deck was something I really wanted to work with in like the winter because I'm in the Northeast where everything does get very barren and cold after, as we go into winter. And I think that it would be interesting to see how this deck shows up in that season. Like specifically this because of the silver
I
too,
can see that. Yeah,
right? It reminds me of snow and
for sure, for sure.
right. And
Yeah,
it
I
does.
just
Queen Elsa.
I
It's
just,
like, let it
yes,
go.
it's a good Elsa deck, and the Elsa deck,
yeah.
and also, something about it does feel Aquarian to me. And that's why I was like, oh no, you're actually a Libra deck. Like, I thought you were an Aquarian deck. Maybe it's both. We'll have to see. But I'm going to try to work with it again then, specifically to see kind of how that experience goes. But I do think going into it from now on, it's going to be through that very intentional type of work of like what is reflected back, what parts of my identity am I kind of exploring, which is funny because when I do that type of work, which comes more through like my yoga experience, to be honest. This is the first time it's kind of crossed over into tarot for me in that way. But when I do that, an image that comes up a lot is a shattered mirror, like trying to put back these like shards of parts of myself. That's just like a visual that I've gotten. And so it's interesting that this deck presents as a mirror to me too. So I do think that that's kind of how it fits into my collection. Let's say like my connection to this deck is very much like a mirror deck.
I think that it when you have a deck that has specific things like the foiling, like it can seem like it's just there for decoration, but like you really took that and ran with it, and like it was part of that connection for you.
Yeah, it was definitely for me very much a part of the deck's identity
Yeah.
is that, and I mean, that I think just probably comes through from the artist, right? Because I forget his name.
Matt Hughes.
Matt Hughes, that's what I was going to say. Matt Hughes, like that's ongoing, right? With all of his decks have this. Does he have a deck that doesn't have it? Do we know?
I don't think so.
I
He's
think that
got an oracle and it looks similar too.
yeah, I mean, they all have that same kind of vibe. So to me, it just does come through as like a very important part of the nature of the deck.
How could you forget his name? It's on every single card.
Like seriously, it's so
Is it?
true.
It's not on this. I see Matt.
Yeah,
Matt.
I
It's on
mean,
every single
Matt.
one.
that was one thing where I'm just like, oh, did
I
we?
did not even notice that.
Yeah, oh, I
Well,
noticed it, and I'm
yeah,
like,
I hope we didn't ruin it for you, but it's there.
it is
I
there.
see it now, but no, I didn't even like pick it didn't jump out at me as a it will
Yeah.
now.
Yep. It got to the point this week where I'm like, where can I find the name? Like a Where's Waldo thing. Yeah.
Like an I
Yeah.
Spy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. My interview spread. I won't go into like all the details, but our together card was this lovely Ten of Swords.
Mhm.
And And I think that the deck knew, like right off the bat, that it was going to be going bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Well, at least it was honest with both you and itself.
Yeah, true. Exactly. There's no lying to itself in this deck. My library of questions spread, like, so when I got this, I was like, oh, like, all right, I kind of understand where this is headed, but I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to do the deck connectors activities and see if, you know, how it goes. My library of questions spread went well, like nothing really remarkable. It was fine. My pairing was with the softest shade. And I got 6 of Cups, 2 of Pentacles, and 2 of Cups. And again, like I thought that there was a lot of repetition in this. So the softest shade said, with a little help from my friends, uplifting, collaboration, support, friends, and allies. And the spread that I used was energy, action, and advice. And that was pulled from the guidebook because if they have spreads in it, I like to give them a shot. And I thought that it was very like, so you have 3 cups here, you have 2 boys in the 6 of Cups, the 2 Pentacles, the 2 cups here. And it was just like a lot of repeating themes throughout. And I thought this spread was good.
Yeah.
That's funny though I mean, that Oracle card kind of describes like how I now think of the deck.
Yeah, right.
Like it needs its friends. It's supportive
Yeah,
in that way when it
that's
comes to
true.
others. Isn't that true?
I can only function with the support of my Oracle friends.
Yes, I need Oracle friends. It's funny though that I had some of those same cards come up, like this
Yes.
two, 10 of Swords and 6 of Cups were in my interview spread with this deck. So I also had to reorient the interview spread that both Jay and I use in my mind because the first 2 positions, like the top is strength and the bottom is weakness, and I just could not make sense of that in my head. There's just like something about those words and then like what would show up in the interviews that I started to think about it differently. I started to think about it as uh, an astrological chart. Like I really like the center line of the deck interview. That's what you did too, Julie. That's basically like you, me, us together, right? The deck meets the reader and our work together. But it was like those top and bottom positions as strength and weakness that just wasn't gelling for whatever reason for me. And so in astrology, when you look at your chart, there's the line of the ascendant and the descendant, which is self and other, and then, where they meet together. And that makes sense for me. Like they kind of lines up the deck interview and that axis in a chart. And then in an astrology chart, the highest point is called the midheaven or the MC, and the lowest point is called the IC. And they kind of represent like who you are out in the world, your reputation, and how, in astrology, it's like your career. And then the IC or the bottom of the chart is who you are at home when no one's around, your ancestry, your family. And so I kind of started to think about those 2 positions instead of strength and weakness as like the deck's light and shadow type of side, like who you present yourself to be out in the world. And then also like what's that deeper side of you. And that's been interesting kind of I looked back on my interview with this deck through that lens, and it was at the highest point,
Uh-huh.
and then this that was at the lowest. And I thought that
Oh,
was interesting reflection on my experience because a lot of the shadow work and that identity work does relate back to my early childhood. And this was like 10 of Swords was very much like there were patterns or parts of my beliefs around those identities that are like done now, that have healed and moved on. It's like what remains after that kind of transforms and changes or dies or what have you. So I did think that the interview was really accurate, and that's just how I think about the deck interview now in my head.
oh, okay. So you're switching it up on me.
switching it up on you.
I'm okay with
Make
it.
it work for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it just
Exactly.
works for me like different. I'm like, oh, I can see what this means because I was doing this thing where I was like, what does that mean? Your weakness is this. Like I don't know. I couldn't rationalize it or make sense of it somehow.
So what oracles did you pair it with, Julie?
So the first oracle that I paired was the Woodland Wardens.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, just simply because it was next to Ethereal Visions on the shelf. So I'm like, okay, let's do this
Love
one. Why not? And we're headed into autumn. And so I received the Skunk and Magnolia, which is protection.
that.
And then, so what I did was I used this as the kind of anchor message or the anchor energy. And then I drew two cards from Ethereal Visions to um, give more explanation, expand on that. So, and I received 10 of Cups and 10 of Swords, which,
Ooh.
yeah, which makes sense because, this idea of protection, I read this to be okay, I can count on and find protection and the support, from loved ones and friends. And then also with the Ten of Swords, I need to protect myself from myself because my mindscape can be a terrifying place sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so,
Yes.
and I can very easily catastrophize. So I need to really keep that in mind and to yeah, recognize that and to stop it in its tracks. So that was, to me, that was one of those readings where I'm like, yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
I got it right away. And
for
then
sure.
yeah, and then the other oracle that I used was the Earthly Souls and Spirits Moon Oracle. And
Cool.
yeah, and I got, yeah, prosperity. And so I used it in the same way with the reading as this being the anchor and then pulling the two. And so I received Six of Swords and Five of Pentacles. So again, I mean, and we're talking about recurring themes here. It's like, okay,
Yes. Yeah.
okay, ethereal visions, I'm picking up what you're putting down, So in that,
Uh-huh.
like, you do work, like you do understand me,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
you just needed some friends, it turns out, so yeah, so that made sense too, just, in order to invite this in more. I really need to be on board with the idea that this is going to be a journey. This is like, I'm going through some changes and I need to be on board with that. And yeah, and also to release that kind of Five of Pentacles mentality that I can definitely
Yeah.
slip into, something that's instilled in me from childhood, fear of scarcity. And so yeah, I mean, these two readings were great.
For
The
sure. It speaks to the Wheel of Fortune, right? Sitting in the center of the wheel and, trying to hone that energy while things around you are changing and just, yeah. And the scarcity mindset, I feel like, as a total aside, but your recent bad artwork video,
yeah,
I feel like that relates to that too, because like growing up, you didn't want to waste your supplies on like making something bad. I don't know. At
yeah,
least I didn't. But that
yeah.
is definitely something that plays into that for me is like, do I want to make something and have it not come out perfect and great and waste my supplies on it?
Waste supplies, waste your time. Like,
Yeah.
why am I wasting my time on this when clearly, I'm receiving feedback that this is no good. So why waste
Mhm.
my time? And yeah,
Yeah.
certainly why waste time, energy, supplies, like anything.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like it totally ties into that too.
Ah, absolutely. Yeah. So that, I mean, that was pretty much it. I mean, well, for the last prompt, the meditation, I
Yeah.
don't have that Tao book, so I did go ahead and use the Align Heart, because I feel like that is kind of a meditative deck with its messages, and so I used that and I pulled. I encourage myself to shine and excel while allowing myself to fail without shame.
There you go.
Yeah. And so
Wow.
then I pulled cards from that. And again, I won't even go into it because very similar. Like it was just like, let me bang you over the head and kick you in the gut one more time with,
Uh-huh.
yeah, what you need to receive and what you need to release.
I
Mhm.
used that deck too in that big reading that I did. I
Yeah,
layered on with that,
yeah.
and I loved the way that it worked with the reading and looked with the reading.
Yes, they looked gorgeous
So
together.
pretty. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of, as an aside, can you pull back up the card that you pulled from the Earthly Souls and Spirits next to one of the Ethereal Visions cards, just so that I can see what they look like aesthetically?
Yeah,
Just because I'm nosy.
And that is one of my favorite, that's my favorite aesthetic deck.
for sure.
It,
So,
I love it so much.
Oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
So
yeah.
cool.
Yep.
So yeah,
The
I mean,
purples, the
the
purples really play
purples,
off.
the purple.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I mean, even Woodland Wardens wasn't bad either. Honestly, I
Yeah,
find
yeah,
that.
I think that that works so well because of the border. Like Woodland
Yeah.
Wardens
Yes.
also kind of looks like some kind of container, right?
Right. Exactly. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little portal, little window, something. There's definitely something about that with this deck for at
Yeah,
least for
for
me.
sure. Yeah, I can see that for sure. What about you, Jay?
Yeah, so how is that with because I told you I was like use it with Threads of Fate because
yeah.
it's so
I
pretty.
did this because you told me to. And I felt like it was okay. So I did your classic 3x3 spread. That's when you pull 3 oracle cards, 3 tarot cards, no spread positions, and you just read them any which way that feels natural, like whatever message comes through. And for me, this was like, I'm not going to get into huge details about it or anything. I just felt like it was a little bit quizzical. Like I sat there with a little bit of like a, I don't know what it's trying to tell me. I've got power with 8 of Pentacles, the void with 3 of Wands, and then the wilding with 10 of Pentacles. And so I did read the guidebook for both of them, for all the cards involved. And I felt like after I read the guidebook, I was like, okay, I am getting a little bit of something, but it didn't feel like a powerful spread to me. It just felt like kind of a, okay, cool, meh. So I didn't have that great experience that you had with the Threads of Fate with this.
I wonder if you recreate that and then pull 3 heart align cards.
I think that that would be helpful, except I don't want to put that much work into this deck. Like, I'm moving
I
on,
know you
baby.
don't, but
Goodbye.
I'm just curious what happens with that because sometimes I really like using that deck in that way. If I feel like the spread is a little bit nebulous, like I'm like, oh, it could be this, it
Yeah.
could be that, and I lay out a card from Heart Align for each line or whatever I'm looking at, it tells me exactly what it's about. Like it's a
I
really
believe you.
good deck out to use that way.
I think, like, let's say this was our only deck connectors we were doing. We did this week, and I didn't have any plans to do anything else. Like, I would consider like pulling that spread back out and adding to it and like really trying to chip away and make it work. But I'm moving on to the next deck that I want to work with. And I just don't want to have to work that hard with my
I
decks. I
get it.
want it
I
to
get it.
understand me, get me, give me good information and readings right off the bat and not have to like pull teeth to get it there.
Yeah, I
I
do.
did feel pretty good after on the final day. This was good. I in the 365 Dow book I pulled or read it was circulation was the title, and it kind of spoke to one of the quotes was spirituality begins in the loins, ascends up the back, and returns to the navel. And it talked about how circulation and circuits, and that spirituality is not just mental, it's physical and a state of being. So for that, I was like, oh, I think that the energy archaeology cards would be really cool um, with the circulation. And I got pulse
Mm.
wrists, which is like so spot on for circulation. And then I pulled the devil and I was like, oh, okay, ethereal visions. All right. And
Like,
how
why
I
do you
took
hate me?
how I took that was like, where do I need to focus my attention? Like being in the present moment. This kind of spoke to like how our energy gets pulled away from the things that we really want to focus on and pulls us out of the moment. And like, what are your vices that you're paying attention to that's not letting you be in the moment, be in the pulse of the moment?
Mm.
So I felt like that was like a decent spread. And I was like, oh, you're gonna make me think about whether I want to keep you. And then I was like, nah, I'm still gonna get rid of you.
Yeah, you're still leaving.
Yeah.
I had for that day with 365 Tao, the passage that I used, which I always use this, at least so far. I go in the back, there's an appendix that gives you the date in the Northern Hemisphere and a passage that corresponds to that. So I just randomly, I'm like, oh, it's this day. I'm going to pull out whatever passage that is. And that in of itself kind of functions as an oracle for me. And the title of the topic or the theme of the reading that I did was called Sweeping, which I thought was really interesting. And it was about the act of reverence of like caring for a temple and like the woman that sweeps the temple steps. And it just really spoke to me about kind of sweeping away some of those identities and also, you know, the that act of kind of spiritual commitment that seemed to kind of line up with this, the message and the pull that I got from this deck to use more meditation in with my tarot readings. So it was cool.
Final thoughts? Any last words?
Well, I mean, hearing Erin talk about it, it has inspired me to maybe sit with it some more at some point. Not right
Yeah.
now, because I've moved on to other things, but and it, like I said, Ethereal Visions isn't going anywhere for the time being. So I am down with, spending some more time with it, especially given now just this newfound focus of, okay, now you like having friends, so we will give you friends to work with. And and you are more reflective. You like to deal with more reflective topics and issues, and so we will focus our questions on things like that. And so I think maybe that could be a turn in our relationship. We'll see.
Yeah, I agree. I think that reflective is such a great word for this deck. That's just like you nailed it, spot on. And so I'll continue working with it. I do feel the same where it's going back on the shelf for now, but I'm not on the fence about it. I'm definitely going to keep it because I even think just working with it very specifically with these other decks, I really liked. So I'll just continue kind of pairing it with that as needed.
As
But I am
needed.
going to intentionally pull it back out this winter too, to kind of see if it does what I think it might do then.
Really shine in its season.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that Libra season is its season, but I also want to explore it in like Aquarius times because that was the original vibe that I got from it. So we'll see.
I think it's really interesting to have a deck connectors club where we have a hard yes, a maybe, and a hard no.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's very interesting and cool.
it is. It's definitely shows that this is such a unique experience. It's really about you and your decks, and decks surprise us all of the time, right? Some things that you think are going to be great and then become a disappointment, and things that you think are, you're not really into, and then you're like, wow, this is really incredible. So that's the fun part of working with tarot, right?
Yes, definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's about the work you want to put into it, and if you don't want to, that's perfectly fine. But I know people who have been like, I am going to bond with this deck if it kills me, and they literally just like fight with the deck and continue on, and eventually do forge a relationship. So it was like a hard won connection, and they did it, and they succeeded, and that's beautiful. And some of us don't really want to do that. And that's okay too. That
That
really is.
reminds me of like breaking a wild horse.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Like, I'm gonna ride this horse.
Yeah. I will make you love me. Oh my.
Oh, it's too funny.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We were so excited to have you on. And if anybody wants to participate in Deck Connectors, if they don't have a channel, then just doing these prompts on your own, you can post them on Instagram, just do them for yourself and journal about it, whatever. If you have a channel and you want to make VRs about it, we love to see that. There's been quite a few of them from Afton with a Z, so we've been enjoying watching those. And we're always happy to have people on. So if you want to participate in any way, like just hit us up and join in. Hashtag Deck Connectors Club.
Yeah, and I
Thank you
think
so
the
much for having me. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me.
So happy to have you.
yeah, it was so great to have you, Julie. It was so much fun.
All right, we're signing out. All right, talk to you later.